Deep in the heart of Texas, Duro Canyon stands as a stunning landscape shaped by time, but beyond its beauty lies a rich history, from indigenous tribes to cowboys and settlers. With ClioVis, we'll uncover the stories and legends that make this park a Texas treasure. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and comment what you want to see next. Now, let's dive in.
Have you ever felt the urge to escape society by visiting the untouched wilderness? Maybe you'd go to a state park like Texas's Duro Canyon. But what if I told you these parks tell a curated story and really aren't the wilderness experience that you think them to be? Duro has a storied history. Indigenous peoples lived there for thousands of years. Cordecho people likely lived there when some claim a famous Spanish expedition passed through the canyon. The Comanche indigenous peoples used it as a key trading site until the U.S. Army displaced them in the Battle of Duro Canyon. Later, Charles Goodnight established a famous cattle ranch in the canyon. He located the canyon by relying on the knowledge of people who already lived in the region, Hispanos and indigenous people. In the 1930s, Black and non-Black Civilian Conservation Corps workers helped build Duro State Park. The Civilian Conservation Corps was a program during the Great Depression that employed people largely to build parks across the country. The CCC director, Robert Fechner, was outraged that Black and non-Black workers worked side by side. He ordered their segregation. This meant that one camp could have all Black workers or all non-Black workers. Duro was made to be a site with all Black workers. Racist outlash emerged at all levels of the government over the placement of Black CCC workers in the canyon. The people who lived around the canyon simply didn't want Black workers there. White people specifically. Black workers who helped build the park couldn't visit it until 1964. Yet the historical narrative communicated the park, if you were to visit it at the time, left out key points of this history. I showed that the Civilian Conservation Corps and Texas State Parks Board built an exclusionary pioneer narrative through the physical infrastructure and parks promotional material in the 1930s. In the process, they erased the histories of indigenous people and Black workers in the canyon. I looked at how the state and the CCC assigned meaning to places at the park. At Duro, the state named key landmarks after white colonizers and pioneers like the Spanish colonizer Coronado. Through the names they gave places, the CCC and Texas State Parks Board constructed a narrative for visitors to interact with. I also examined the promotional materials from the 1930s given around the park and how they tell Duro's story. The narratives erased the U.S. Army's assault on indigenous people in the canyon, but it included references to indigeneity when it upheld white saviorist ideals. Finally, I delve into who built the park. Only Black people worked in the park for a period. Their geographical isolation and racism from surrounding communities eventually led them to strike. Park infrastructure and promotional materials failed to make any mention of Black workers in the park, furthering the revisionist nature of the park's historical narrative. In this timeline, I show how the instruments used by the CCC and Texas State Parks Board shaped visitors' experiences of Duro Canyon's landscape. They used infrastructure such as roads, trails, and lodges. They also used promotional material to tell a story that celebrated white pioneer settlers. In doing so, they distorted the canyon's history in erasing the contributions of Black CCC workers and the rich heritage of indigenous peoples who lived there for generations. Duro State Park is just one example of how parks presented curated histories of their landscapes. The next time you visit a place described as wild, consider how the infrastructure and promotional materials might shape or revise the history of the space. If you'd like to learn more about my research on this project and how different infrastructure in the parks and the positioning of lodges and trails tell a story, please click on the link in the description to see this timeline. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to follow us for more engaging content. Every Friday for the next few weeks, we'll be sharing fascinating stories about historical events that took place on Fridays. Stay tuned for more fun and intriguing history brought to life with ClioVis. Ready to create your own timeline? Start your ClioVis journey today at ClioVis.com and dive into history like never before.